Thank you so much, Risha, for joining us here at the Dwelling Show. I'm your host, Ola Dantes. I cannot wait to dig in with you today.
I'm excited, Ola. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it. So,
hmm
Risha, I've read a little bit about you. Can you just kind of tell our Dwell listeners a little bit about you and kind of how you got started in real estate and kind of what you've been up to lately?
Okay. So I am an interior designer. I have my own business, my own firm, and I have always wanted to um, be invested in real estate. I started looking about 2012, 2010, something like that. And I was a little hesitant to do it myself. So I had a couple of partners that were interested and that nothing ever panned out. Um, 2017, 2016, 2017, I finally found a couple of multifamilies, which I purchased, a 2-door and a 3-door, um, one was tenanted, one needed to be rehabbed, to rehab them, got new tenants in there, doing great. The other one has been rehabbed as the tenants have been left out. So I have that, I manage that myself, which is good and bad. And then I have a single family that I rent out, which is rent that I own that I rent out to. And then I have a couple, like I'm in a couple syndications, and I'm in a silent partner in a apartment rebuild out in Pennsylvania too. 16 units, 18 units. So
Oh wow, that's a lot of investments going on. That's a lot. So definitely let's try to rewind back a little bit,
okay,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So, you like you said, you have your own interior designing business. I checked that out. You're doing fantastic work. I
Thank
mean,
you.
what made you want to invest in real estate in the first place? What kind of got you started? I mean, why did you want to go into that space?
I love fixing up new homes. I love creating a home from a house, and I just know that I'm really good at that. I'm really good at like seeing the space and um, making it into a better space which people want to live. So I think that's really was my big impetus. So that I'm very interested in that, and I'm good at it. And then I have less and less confidence in the stock market and in the traditional kind of modes of creating wealth. And I just don't believe it anymore. So after listening to some people like Grant Cardone, I listened to Bigger Pockets podcasts. They get a lot of investors on there. I'm like, yeah, why am I investing at all in the stock market? And so I'm trying to move all. Like I just recently took all my IRA money and I put it into a self-directed retirement savings fund that I am putting into a syndication, and I'm going to do that and get out from from Wall Street. That's my plan.
So if there's somebody listening to us and going, "Oh my goodness, I have a lot of my, IRA or 401k from my, 9 to 5 job just really, really invested in the stock market, but I've been trying to figure out how to get into real estate, but I'm struggling." It might be from a mindset perspective. It might also be from a tactical perspective of, I don't know what to do. What would you say to that person?
I say, you got to go and get some education, and it's so readily available. YouTube, podcasts, meetups. I go to a lot of real estate meetups. In fact, last year I decided to start my own meetup. So I have a meetup for women only who want to invest in real estate, and I try to have a speaker talk about different aspects of investing in real estate, all different things. One of them happened to be last year was a woman who does self-directed retirement saving funds, and she's a custodian for that. So I thought, well, that's good. And then I had, which is the person that introduced us, is she has syndications and she has availability for investing in her syndications. And so I thought, well, now I set this up, and that all came about because I wanted to meet up and I wanted to learn more about real estate investing. There's so many different aspects, and I met people, and that's really how it's, great place to start. Educate, and you can do it. It's just, it's not, the syndications are great because they're very passive.
Right, right. Yeah, definitely. Before we even get to the syndication, which is obviously our specialty, my specialty at dwelling, I really want to touch on, you kind of started a little bit small, right? You bought the 2 door and the 3 door, right?
Mhm.
And you said one of them had tenants in it, the others didn't.
Right.
Can you just kind of like walk us through those two deals? Maybe you can start with the 2 door and then move to the 3 door in terms of what were the differences and how did you manage that rehab process for the one that wasn't tenanted?
For the one that wasn't tenanted, I have a partner, 2575. We own that together. We actually bought probably the same properties within a month of each other. The one that we were going to do a lot of the rehab, which we did the painting and he did a lot of fixing. Some of the bigger stuff, like we had to do a bathroom gut and upgrade the kitchen. A bay window needed to be fixed. We got a contractor, and I have great tradespeople because of being in the interior design business. So we did a lot. We got him to do some stuff, and we did a lot ourselves. That was really hard, but we worked we worked at night on the weekends and it sucked really. And the whole process from that, I'm like, I am never going to do that again because we could have done it twice as fast. It costs to hold it and to, just have the place empty and you got to pay to keep it going. And so like, well, what we paid to do that, we could just pay the contractor and they got it rented out. Boom, much faster. And they rented literally within the first week. They were rented because I was very particular about upgrading it and making it into, getting the most we could get for that area in rent. So
Okay.
that was great.
Yeah,
And then, yeah,
sorry,
sorry.
go on.
So when we went to rehab, the second one, which was tenanted, we had just decided that we're going to keep the tenants, keep it going as is until like we had some time under our belt and we had taken in some of the cash flow. We weren't paying each other ourselves, but when we went to up the renew the leases, tenant left and then another tenant left. So then we did those rehabs and we did not do rehab. You still do a lot even if you're not doing the rehab physically, but running around, getting things, getting people together, coordinating, et cetera, et cetera. And then again, those rented very quickly because we made them really upgraded them, changed one bedroom into a 2 bedroom. So we increased our rent on that. We put in off-street parking and we also installed laundry in the basement, individual laundry for each of the tenants. So we were
Oh,
able
wow.
to increase our rents substantially.
Oh, wow. Talk about a value add right there.
Yes, yeah.
Even if it's on a smaller scale, you can still do it. You also mentioned that you self-manage, right? And there's a lot of talk about, managing your assets yourself or giving it to a property manager. So you had to go through this rehab process. So you knew what the assets were, what materials you put in them. So did that inform your decision to either give it to a third-party property management company or did that just basically say, hey, I know what's in this assets, I can take on the responsibility and manage it myself? And if whatever the case was, how do you feel about self-managing your assets now that you're actually doing it?
Well, when we bought it, we didn't even think of that piece. And now I definitely, in my budget, I put in a 10% management fee because I'm not trying to create a job for myself. I got plenty of jobs. I really want, my goal with the investment was to create a legacy and increase my time and freedom with cash flow. So, but those ones at the moment, we could pay management fee. We could get somebody to manage them, but we didn't really price it into that and we're liking the cash flow on it. So, of course at 10%, that's a huge chunk. And had we done it, now every day I look at like, okay, I need a management manager because I don't want to manage more places. So do the numbers work with a 10% in this area where I live? 10% is, about normal. Management fee. That's my goal, is not to manage them. So,
Makes sense.
and not to manage any other properties going forward. But I never thought of that. That's what I learned from going to meetups and, listening to podcasts and YouTube and reading.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned something I wanted to go back to real quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually started hosting your own meetup group.
Yes.
Just for listeners, I'm not sure where you're actually based. Can you just mention
Oh, okay.
the meetup just in case you have someone listening in your area?
Yeah, I love that. I'm in New Jersey. This meetup is in central New Jersey in Middlesex County in Edison, which is if you're New Jersey. It's near the Menlo Park Mall. It's a free meetup. We meet the third Wednesday of every month for a couple of hours. I have a new speaker. We have some networking time, Q&A, and you know, we're at a local Panera Bread, so I don't have to pay anything to host it. But it's been really good for me. I've learned about syndications, learned about self-directed IRA funds, etc. So every time I learn, this one we have tomorrow, and I'm actually having someone come in and talk about insurance and how that affects and how it affects your budget, how, you know, what you think you should ask for, how to vet good insurance, making sure you're covered for whether it's a rehab or whatever.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's what we're doing this week. So
Nice.
I'm going to learn a lot.
Yeah.
Even
Thanks
though
for sharing that. Thanks for
I
sharing.
think I know everything, but no, I don't.
Yeah, it's just so much to know. So much to know.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So you kind of, I guess I would say, graduate from, you know, kind of the smaller assets, and then you started looking at syndications. And, you
Mm-hmm.
know, one question I like to ask my guests is, you know, how do you vet or choose an apartment syndicator like myself? What are the things that you look at in terms of choosing an apartment syndicator?
Um, well, you know, I think for me, it's about a relationship. And I really liked, in this case, it was Alina Trigub, who came and spoke. And I just liked her demeanor. I liked her business sense. You know, I'm a woman, so I like to support other women. Um, and she's local. And I think it was just sort of the feeling I got. And she just kind of had her shit together. And I think that's really helpful. But I mean, a big part of it is I'm having a meetup for women. I want to, you know, invest in women. And in this real estate investment world, there aren't a lot of women who are investing in real estate. There are some, but meetups I go to, you know, they're 80, 90% men, which is fine. I love men. But I think we'll have slightly different conversations. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny you brought that up, because actually, obviously I know Alina, we're great friends, and I kept saying to her, I was like, I want more women on my podcast, you know. I mean, I could say I'm somewhat of a feminist, right? You know,
okay.
I have my daughter, my wife, you know, I'm
Yeah.
always in the house with women. So I love women. So she's like, yeah, I know a few people that you can interview. And obviously that's how we got together. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's fascinating. I really love that you mentioned that. So now let's talk about, you know, maybe say your first syndication, right? What have you so far learned, you know, from your first syndication? And now that you're actually in syndications and obviously being on the limited partner, you know, on the silent side of things, do you learn a lot about it, or are you just kind of taking a back seat and just letting the general partner kind of run with it?
That's what I'm doing. I'm taking a back seat with this. I have some money set aside for that. That's, you know, I'm trying to learn a lot more about the more active role of real estate investing. So I look at the perspective and I look at what the deal is. And so I know what I'm talking about, but I'm not getting involved in. I just want to hand it over and have somebody else deal with that part of my money. And I'm spending time on looking for other deals to invest in small family, multifamilies, fix and flips, and to move into that more full time.
Awesome. And I think you make a good point, right? You basically are not looking to, you know, manage some of these 50 or 100 unit assets. You just want the general partners to kind of go in,
Mm-hmm.
stabilize the asset, manage it, and exit the deal. And you obviously just get the cash flow and the returns on the back end.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now, if there's somebody just maybe similar in your situation, and maybe they have some money like from the stock market and they're looking to bring it over into a self-directed, you know, IRA, as you said, but they have some worries in terms of just the ambiguity of investing in syndications. You've actually done a few. You're a silent partner in a build, like you said. What would you say to that person to kind of make them feel a little bit less, you know, stressed or just at ease with the idea of investing in an apartment, you know, something so big, and they might not even see that asset if they're not in that market.
I guess you know, I really always have come from a place of trust. If I meet somebody and I trust them, maybe it hasn't always served me well, but you know, I have two choices. I either can trust them or I can spend my life like thinking everybody's out to get me. And I don't want to live like that. So when I've met like the JV that I'm doing out in Pennsylvania, he is, you know, he's a builder. That's what he does. rehabs and he builds, he does multifamilies. He knows what he's doing. I can't really help him with that. You know, he knows the numbers. Yeah, I looked at the perspective, I looked at the pro forma, and it looked like, you know, it was pretty good. I had a few concerns, which he addressed. And I can't do it all. So I want to form these relationships where, you know, it's a partnership. He's doing that, you know, with my money. You know, part of it is he needed some of the money. So I gave him some money and he's taking it over, and that's where his expertise is. I can't do
Awesome.
that. So
I love that. That's just the power of, you know, when we coalesce with one another, you know, somebody has a particular strength or a skill or
yeah,
maybe capital, and we just kind of come together and just make these things happen. That's the definition of syndications. Actually, it's basically coming together to take down a bigger asset, you know, that you can't take down by yourself, essentially. So
absolutely.
thanks for bringing that up. We're definitely dwelling into the quick round. So these are going to be quick questions, quick
Okay.
answer. You ready, ma?
Yeah. Go ahead. Fire.
All right. First question. What makes Risha unique? What is that differentiating factor that separates you from the next girl or the next guy?
I'm very positive. I can get down, but I bounce right back up and I'm like, okay, let's find something good in this. So let's find how we make this work. And, you know, like, I don't care if it's a money problem. If it's a problem with money, I'm like, we'll figure it out. You know, I'm always, that's, I think, what my strength is.
Awesome. Next question. What was the last book that you read? And what was the one thing or nugget that you picked up from that book?
I was reading, where is it? Grant Cardone's Real Estate Investing um, book that he has. It's a small book that he, you know, he gave up for free or something like that. And actually, I can't. I
Yeah,
can't.
I
It
know
was
that
a
book.
few months ago. I
Yeah.
read it. I'm like, oh my god, you know. But I'm trying to think of what I learned because it's just like um, recently. I can't think of what I just
Yes.
know that everything he writes, it's like, yeah, why didn't I think of that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why am I learning this now? I'm like 50. What am I? 53, something like that. 54. And I'm like, shit, that's good. That's good information.
Yeah, Grant Cardone is a legend. Yeah, he had a
Yeah.
really a big show recently, I think, at the
Yeah,
stadium.
he
So
just did the 10X
yeah, the 10X
conference in
conference.
Miami a week ago, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
went last year to the 10X. It was great. I mean, tons of energy, lots of great information, very inspiring. Um, Man, it makes you feel like you're not doing enough, which, you know, we can always do more.
Of course, of course. Last question. So
Okay.
you're running your, you know, interior design business, you're, you know, hosting meetups, you've got obviously your family, you're doing a bunch of stuff. What do you
Right.
do for fun?
I don't, I don't have fun right now. Yoga. I do yoga. So
Nice.
I try to do that 4, 5, 6 times a week, and walk. I live right by a reservation, so I like to go for walks in the woods. But really, I've just been so busy, really tons of things on my plate.
I can
But
imagine. I
you
can
know,
imagine. Yeah. We definitely share the walking bit. I just like walking. I'm not really for kind of high energy, you know, lifting weights or anything like that. I just like to
oh,
take a walk
that's
and
too much
just,
work.
yeah. All right. Well, if there's somebody listening, maybe they're in the New Jersey, New York market or just anywhere in the country and they're like, really like Risha, I want to connect with her. I just want to pick her brains or talk to her. What's the
Yeah,
best way
sure.
folks can
I
reach
would
out
love
to
that.
you?
Best way to get me is you can get me on Bigger Pockets, Risha Walden. You can reach out to me at rishawalden@gmail.com. That's a good one. And then my real estate business is R&R Assets, which is
Awesome.
rnrassets.com.
I'm definitely going to have those in the show notes. Thank you so much, Risha. I really had a
It
great
was
time. Thank you so
wonderful.
much.
It was lovely talking with you.